Good evening, folks. It's Colin Maxwell from the Brewgooders podcast, here again with another creator chat. And I'm joined this evening by Noel Hannan, who has a Kickstarter running at the moment for Unit666. So, Noel, you are a co-creator of this new comic. You're credited as a writer on it. Can you tell us a wee bit? First of all, what is Unit666 and who are the team that are involved in it?
Okay, thanks, Colin. I'm Noel Hannan. I'm the writer on Unit666. The kind of core creative team on this that's worked mainly on the initial kind of concept art and all the kind of beat up type stuff on it are Warwick Fraser-Coombe, who might be better known for a recent Road Trooper in 2000 AD, Interzone cover artist. Big self-publisher himself in a lot of ways, really very, very distinctive artist. If you don't know him, go and check him out, and I'm sure if you know him, you know him. There's nobody like Warwick Fraser-Coombe. And the other guy is Neil Rush, but otherwise known as Boona, who you might know from Killing Moon. Again, very versatile artist, letterer, all-around good guy, very, very experienced Kickstarter pilot who's held my hand throughout this process, which has been great because this is the first time that I've had a bash at this. And yeah, that's the core creative team. We've also got a number of other people involved in this now over time. We've got Rick Rawlin, who's done some concept work and pin-ups. We've got Derek Gray, who's done one of the strips, a Scottish artist that I've worked with for about 30 years. Rick as well, I've worked with for 30 years. We've got Chris Askham, who a lot of people will know from lots and lots of Kickstarter stuff recently. He's another very, very experienced Kickstarter guy, extremely prolific self-publisher and really, really good artist and writer as well. We've also got Lyndon Webb. Lyndon James, where did Lyndon James come from? Lyndon Webb, who I think most people would probably know from Shift, from his strip in Shift, perhaps. And he's working on a strip with us. And who else have we got working on this now? We've got I should bring up a list here, shouldn't I? So I'm not bluffing off the top of my head.
Darren Stevens, have we mentioned?
Yeah, Darren Stevens has coloured a couple of covers for us. We've got variant covers by Patrick Goddard and Steve Austin, so two 2000 AD artists.
Yeah,
Darren's done the covers on that. We've got Bill Story working with us, who's a proper veteran artist. He's a little bit older than me, which is quite hard to imagine, but he is. And I'm bound to have forgotten somebody here, so I'm going to just pull up one of my folders now to make sure that I'm not.
Not to worry. I mean, we'll have a look through the Kickstarter page anyway. But before then, tell us Unit666. What is this all about?
What's it all about? Well, it started life as a commando comic. I think you might remember us having a conversation about this at Lawless, Colin, and it's still a bucket list for me. I mean, me and Andrew Sawyers, who he will kill me for forgetting him on that list of people. Andrew Sawyers is working on one of the strips as well. We've got an idea to do a commando pitch, which would be bucket list for us really. And we're well gelled that you smashed a couple of them yourself already, or a few, more than a couple. But it did start life as a commando comic to do a kind of a commando do the kind of like bit of supernatural stuff and a bit of sci-fi stuff, and they have their little sort of war comic variants, don't they?
Very much so.
And there's lots of influences in here, which date back to kind of classic era 2000 AD. So I was 56 yesterday. Thank you very much, and still ticking.
Many happy returns.
So I was, thank you. So I was in on the ground on 2000 AD in 1977. 10 years old. I'd already read Battle and Warlord and Commando and other stuff and action, and then all of a sudden, here's 2000 AD, 10 years old.
Yeah,
mind blown.
Yeah,
and the same year as Star Wars as well. So it just absolutely, what can I say? It's the way it formed my religion, didn't it, for the rest of my life, really. So when you look at some of the influences we've taken in here, Things of the Eastern Front was a big one. You know, all the Jerry Finley Day stuff, Road Trooper, the VCs, you know, Harry Tunney on the High Rock, all that kind of stuff as well. Massive Jerry Finley Day fan. Hoping to persuade him to do a quote for us at some point.
Yeah,
possibly.
That'd be good.
See how that pans out. But particularly Things of the Eastern Front, I think, is a major influence here. And then later things like, you know, Hellboy, and, you know, movies like Iron Sky, you know, Mad Nazis on the Moon, Nazi UFOs, Nazi ... fill the gaps, you know, Nazi zombies, Nazi cyborgs, Nazi stuff. You know, it's fun, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what we, you know, it's very much a melding of all them sort of influences.
So
and you know, incredible people involved in it as well. You know, very much a smorgasbord of artists, in the same way that, if you remember early days 2000 AD, and I suspect you're not massively younger than me, that each week, you know, Bolland drew Dredd, very different to McMahon, and very different to Ezra, and very different to, you know, any other 2000 AD artist that might have drawn, you know, Ron Smith, you know.
Ron Smith,
So that's the way that we, you know, there's no Pantone color chart for Unit 666. There's very little in the way of style guide. There's sort of, here's a character, and let's see how you interpret him. And the artists have sort of worked with that. You know, Warwick did a kind of almost a bit of a style guide at the kind of concept art at the start, but we've not been very rigid about that, and we've just carried on through. And also the pin-ups and the covers and that, lots of different interpretations. Seems to work really well.
I mean,
what we've done so far,
from what I've seen of it, it does work. So there's about half a dozen stories in the book. Is that right?
Yeah, I think there are. Let's see, there's 6 or 7, I think, in total.
Right.
So we had 6 core stories, and then we also did we introduced another character called Tanker Bell, and that got passed around a number of artists initially, but that's what Lyndon Webb is doing at the moment. Not Lyndon James. I've no idea who that is. Lyndon Webb, very definitely, is doing Tanker Bell at the moment. I've seen an interpretation of that character by him recently, and it's really good. You know, it's like he's really nailed it.
Okay, I'm going to bring up the Kickstarter page right now. No, so we can actually see some of the artwork and things. So, I'll do that just now. Right, okay. So there we go. So there's Unit 666, Volume 1. So that's tantalising.
So that's the Patrick Goddard cover that's coloured by Darren Stevens. Very nicely in both aspects, and the original A2 pen and ink of that has been bought by one of the backers.
So quite a lot of the artwork's gone already, of the rewards for the artwork, but
an awful lot of original artwork has gone already. You know, we've been drip feeding that to sort of, you know, to kind of keep interest up and what have you. And an enormous amount of original artwork has gone already, which is brilliant. You know, that makes a massive difference to the pledge total, essentially. And as you can see from there, we've doubled our pledge total already, which is amazing. You know, this is my very first Kickstarter, so I'm very impressed with the way it's gone so far.
That's superb. I mean, that's quite a modest goal at 2,000, but considering the artwork and the people that you've got involved in here, I can see a lot of people wanting this. And let's face it, who doesn't like a bit of horror and war genre mixed together?
You know, we're plumbing a very well-defined line here, aren't we? You know, we don't think we're breaking new ground, but we're having a lot of fun, and we hope that the people who read it will have a lot of fun as well. And that's all that this is about, really.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's what I'm expecting from it, as fun stuff. I mean, there are a few other comics kind of in this kind of vein, you know, werewolves or vampires and Nazis and things. So I'm interested to see where this goes. The wee bit about the story is here that it's kind of set later in the war, and you know, Nazi Germany is struggling against the Allies, so it's kind of going for any kind of technology or magic or whatever that they can throw at the allies to kind of fight
absolutely.
back.
And I'm pretty sure, Colin, as a commando author, you're a pretty well read World War II historian, I would imagine, and maybe even some other conflicts. But that's exactly what the Nazis did. What we do is rooted in a little bit of reality.
Yeah.
I don't have any proof that they had alien technology. I don't have any proof that they had a zombie virus or whatever they could, but they were definitely dabbling in the occult. There's many books that, in fact, there's a shelf over there. Actually, there's the top shelf of the books in the corner. That's my Unit 666 shelf. There's lots of books that document their obsession with the occult. And you look at some of the technology that they developed right at the end of the war, far too late.
Yeah,
far too late. I am a very keen amateur historian in terms of World War II and a battlefield tour guide for Normandy.
All right.
But the technology that they developed too late at the end of the war, if they had put their industry onto a war footing like we did very early on, that would have been a game changer for them quite considerably, because at the end of the war they had essentially not quite ICBMs, but definitely inter-country ballistic missiles with the V1 and the V2. They had jet fighters. They had a modern assault weapon with the MP44. That was essentially the AK-47. They had incredible armor, but they just tried to keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually they couldn't fit it on there.
Yeah, certainly we've seen a lot of that kind of technology, the giant tanks, the elephant, and the trains with huge guns on them.
They thought the technology was incredible. Just insane. Insane kind of technology developments. War is as you probably aware, is a massive incubator for technology, and World War II in particular. And obviously they knew what the atomic bomb could do, and they had their atomic program, and we managed to interdict that with things like the Telemark raid and the attack on heavy water and that kind of thing. And you look at how we scooped up all them people at the end of the war, or at least the Americans got most of them. Although the Russians got a few as well. And then developed the space programs and atomic weaponry based on all that.
And in fact,
I've taken that, run with it.
Yeah, sorry, I see here that your episode 2, one of the stories is called Vunderveppen. So
I do a lot of I've sort of it's a lot of pidgin German in there, which I'm hoping that I'm hoping that German people won't find offensive, but then I don't see we're getting a lot of German backers for this at this moment in time. But there's a lot of pidgin German. There's a bit of pidgin French in there as well, which is always all right. But, there's quite a bit of pidgin German in there. What I've tried to mimic is the way that kind of the Tommy or the Squaddy would sort of a bit like Ypres and Wipers. They're kind of the way that they would pronounce things.
Yeah.
So we've got Beervels and Vunderveppen. It's just basically a bit of a riff on the way that a Tommy would sort of repeat German phrases and what have you.
Yes, indeed, and that's something you kind of have to be sometimes careful with, but perhaps not in a kind of more light-hearted kind of story, or it seems light-hearted anyway. And I have to say that I'm quite impressed that you've got a Scottish character in there. Let's face it, every commando team is going to have a Scot in there, and this one happens to be called William Wallace.
Well, Billy Wallace technically, but
Bill Wallace, but yeah.
So he's based on a gent called Keith Gaynham, who you might know. Actually, I've got a feeling you might know him. Who is very active in sort of comics fandom, and he also does, I guess, what I would call Braveheart cosplay. He might slap me for that, and I hope he doesn't, because he's a really big fella, and I reckon a slap from Keith might put me down permanently. But I sent some pics of Keith dressed as a big Scot, big Highlander. to Warwick, and he did some imagery based on that. So
I think,
we've got a big,
I think we see the team here in the Patrick Goddard's cover. We see a bit of the team there. Yeah, and there's
you can see him. He's got a kukri there.
Scotsman,
yeah.
I'll try and get them on the screen. It's a bit difficult to kind of fit it all on.
Yeah,
there he is there with his Gurkha knife.
Yeah,
and his little.
So he's, he doesn't have any sort of superpowers or whatever, because some of the others are kind of have got things that they do, if you know what I mean.
I see. Yeah.
But he's their big. I was gonna say their big dumb, Hulk, but he's not quite. He's not a dumb guy at all. He's just a big strong guy. In fact, his thing is, I'm here because occasionally you need a big guy to just like crash heads and and smash things up. Essentially.
Absolutely.
He is he's their Hulk or their thing, I guess.
Yeah, and you've got kind of a couple of kind of supernatural characters in there as well that are parts of the team, the sort of Knights Templar chap here.
Yeah. So there's a sort of an immortal character. There is a tagline in it, which is, "I'm not immortal, I'm just lucky." And the harder I train, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
And so they don't really believe that they're immortal, but they're all about 1,000 years old. They all first met at the siege of Jerusalem in 1088.
I see. Right. Okay.
I'm making dates up now, but
I'm going to skip down to the list of characters here, or at least some of them are listed here, so people can read through these on the Kickstarter page and learn a wee bit more about the team.
Yeah. So essentially, the story starts in World War One. Rupert Shrewton, I think, he might be a major or lieutenant colonel. I can't remember off the top of my head. In the sort of the prelude story, and Nathan is a very young soldier. Basically, he's signed up at 15, and they're at the kind of final battle in World War One, and they witness the opening of a portal to hell that the Germans have opened up, and they see a sort of vision of the future essentially at that point in time, or at least individuals from the future, and it then switches to kind of 1944, 43. I think it might start in late 43 actually, where Rupert Shrewton has formed Unit 666. He appoints Nathan as the OC and tells him to go and gather together a crew of people who can scoop up all the Nazi, essentially can defeat the Nazi technology and occult, but also capture it for our use. And that's what they do essentially. So it is a kind of it's a fictionalization of a very real unit that existed. So there were units of the British Army and the American Army that were there specifically to scoop up Nazi technology, because we knew that they not so much the zombies and the giant robots and things that you'll see in this, but the ballistic missile technology, the nuclear technology, the chemical warfare, the genetics that they'd experimented in, all those kind of things. We knew that there was some value in that. As evil as it was, we knew there was some value in it. So there were teams that were dedicated to that. So this is that idea on steroids. Essentially, it takes that premise and drops it into a comic book universe. Essentially, how would this pan out if this was a battle comic? Essentially,
and absolutely. And Battle's well known for its kind of little teams. The Rat Pack, for example. And there's been a fair number of kind of not quite parodies, well, maybe parodies of that over the years. I know Commando has its groups. Ramsey's Raiders is one of the most well known. Prior to that, Convict Commandos, which was actually written by the same person as the Rat Pack. So they're essentially the same group, but just with different names. And I don't know if you've read Garth Ennis's Adventures in the Rifle Brigade, but that is a classic group. Very funny. Kind of behind enemy lines commando team. I highly recommend it if anybody hasn't seen it.
We're plumbing the same vein here, and one of the things that I'd sort of come up with this is the fact that there was a series on recently, Rogue Heroes. I'm not sure if you've watched it, BBC series Rogue Heroes, based on the Ben McIntyre book.
Yeah.
And they used like modern rock music in the sort of so when I'm writing this, I am thinking AC/DC and Rage Against the Machine, essentially. That is the way that it sort of, and also there's stuff in there which is a little bit tongue-in-cheek kind of modern reference. Like I did a Facebook post, I think yesterday, with it's raining, like Hallelujah, it's raining men, from the paratroopers coming down. There's lots of bits and bobs in there like that. What you just scroll through there, actually, the barrel of the Sherman tank with powered by fairy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I've got a sticker of that on the back of my pickup truck. So this is Tanker Bell, who you've yet to see. It's a bit of a teaser, that first page, because
I see.
her.
Yeah.
But she's going to pop up quite soon. Courtesy of originally, she was intended for a kind of another comic.
All right.
And although she was always going to be a Unit 666 character, but she was originally intended for a bit of an offshoot comic, and then we bring her back in. But circumstance dictated that we want to kind of introduce her here, because we want to bring her into book 2, really, because that
excellent.
Matter, really.
So
quite a lot matter. There's also some other characters coming in from you.
So perhaps just in the last couple of minutes, if we can talk about the rewards, what's available. It looks like there's several different covers of the book.
Yeah, so Neil does these very, very nice Photoshop filter things with the covers. Like it looks like the book exists.
Yeah,
which it will, of course. We're well beyond our funding requirements for printing it now, so the book will come out. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But these are Photoshop filters that make it look like you've got a book on your table, which is amazing. So yeah, we've got so the original cover is Warwick, which is the one above, that one. And then if you keep scrolling down, we've got the variant cover by Patrick Goddard, coloured by Darren Stevens, and then the next one is Steve Austin, again coloured by Darren Stevens. So the original art for both of those, Warwick's one is a digital original, if you like. There is no such thing as a digital original, really, is there? But Warwick's is entirely digital, so we don't have the original artwork of that, unfortunately. Although Warwick has offered a multimedia original on the add-ons, which has gone already, I believe.
Yeah.
But both Steve and Patrick gave us the pen and ink originals of their covers. In fact, if you bear with me a second, I'll pull Pat's out, because I've got it here with a big sold post-it on it. Pull it out. I'll keep the sold bit on it just to show if somebody's watching this and they bought it.
I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so that we can see that a bit bigger. There we go.
Yeah,
isn't that awesome?
So there we go. That's a kind of A2 original, But yeah, that's an amazing piece of work. So I managed to pull that out of Pat's portfolio at Lawless, which was a very nice feeling. And somebody's snapped that up already, which is not surprising, really, is it? He's the current Road Trooper artist. He's done a lot of this type of work, hasn't he?
That's right. I picked up Sniper Elite by Rebellion.
Comic book stuff and
comic book based on the video game. So that was rather good.
Yeah, so we've got some amazing people involved in this, not just the core crew of it, but the couple of 2000 AD guys, and obviously Warwick has done a recent Road Trooper as well. But the crew assembled here is quite special. I've never quite had, I've had some great crews around me in the past, and in fact, when I'm thinking about those great crews, most of them are in here as well. So Rick and Derek, for example. The only one missing out of this is John Weldon at the moment, but he's concentrating on Chuffing Billy, which we do. We had in Shift last year. But this is the couple of the guys of the the folk I've worked with for the last 30 years. And then, Warwick, maybe the last 5 years, I think I've been working with him. Chris Askham I've worked with for quite a long time. And then new folk like Lyndon, Bill Story. I think we go back probably about 30 years. There's a lot of history here, which is quite appropriate for a book like this.
That's great. So the Kickstarter's at this time of recording, it's got 16 days to go. You're well overfunded, more than 200%. 16 days to go. So it ends on July 6th. Thursday, July 6th,
I think
8 p.m.
Yeah,
I think that's
so again,
right.
This is my first Kickstarter, so I'm thinking it ends at if it ends at the point that you hit the button. So that will be
pretty much, yes, yeah.
On the 6th of July. We will double check that, and we'll make sure that our funders and Facebook and everything knows when it does end.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a little end off party as we had a start off party.
Excellent.
So we'll make sure we get that out on. I run them on Teams, so we don't have a time limit on it, which is useful, because we once we get talking, the last one lasted 3 hours, I think.
I can imagine. And I know some of our podcasts have rambled on for a good few hours, and usually had a few beers as well. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's normally the case, But we'll publicise that, and it just be, if people want to join us, that'd be fantastic. Be nice to say thank you to the people that have backed this. We got, I think, there was like 135 backers, something like that on there. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah, it's the first time I've done this. We're up for more. Book two. I'm working on book 2 at the moment. It'll just get madder. Absolutely madder.
Good. That's what I'm hoping for.
What we're hoping. I'm going to write the 3 books, if you like. It's we're going to do like a 3-book series, and runs through to kind of like Berlin, essentially. So we start on D-Day, we run through Liberation of Paris, Battle of the Bulge, Arnhem, Rhine Crossing, Berlin. That's the kind of the scope of the story.
I see.
And it ends with the end of the war, essentially. So the thing is, we miss out a lot of stuff in between, so we can always dip back in and do a little vignette of what was Tanker Bell up to.
Nice idea.
There, and then we've got this idea that the professor who essentially created the unit, he's old enough to have fought in like the Boxer Rebellion or the Boer War.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So we've got these ideas that we'll kind of roll it back, but then I've also got an idea to pull it forward to the present day, where there's a present day unit. And in fact, amazingly, this came to me in a dream. I just, I have very, very bizarre dreams, but there was this one dream where I was in a naval center of some description, like a naval base. And somebody said, "Would you like to see the secret museum?" I'm like, yeah, I'd like to see the secret museum. And they took me down the stairs, and there was Unit 666's museum in the basement of this. And you're like, what's this? What is it? And I think this might have even I probably made a note of it somewhere, but I think it actually predates even the commando idea of having this secret unit that no one knows about. But there's a modern equivalent of it, but even they don't know the true history behind them. But in this dream, I was taken down the stairs in this naval base to this secret museum. I woke up the next morning and went, "That's a great idea. I've got to write that down." So that's ended up here now. So we might, that might be the little prelude at the start of the next book, or we might leave it to the end of the 3rd book, or it might be the first bit of the modern era stuff, or so it's proper got arms and legs. This, I think.
Oh well, I'm sure backers will be glad to hear that. Once they get the book, and if they enjoy it, something new's going to come out of it. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I do think that if we continue to get supported in the way that we do with this, and the support has been incredible so far, I might be writing 666 stories forever. I'm quite old now, so forever's not that long. I'm not committing to a massive amount of time here. You know what I mean? I'm not 20. I might be writing 666 stories forever, because the whole concept of having this sort of like supernatural / alien hunting kind of like military crew.
Yeah,
you can do a lot of things with that.
it can go all over the place. Yeah, absolutely.
You can go back in time, you can go forward in time. We can drop them on Mars, whatever. We'll see where it takes them.
Absolutely. It's very exciting. I've obviously I have backed the Kickstarter. I want to read this.
I've noticed that, Colin. I've noticed that already.
And the fact that you're talking about sequels and stuff sounds right up my street. So, well, we're just about out of time. So, thanks very much for joining us this evening, Noel, and good luck with the Kickstarter.
Thank you for the invite.
Ending 6th of July at 8 p.m, folks, if you want to back it.
Yeah, so we'll push out an invite to that via Facebook and all the usual channels, and please come and join us. Please do.
Great, thank you very much.